Alright, we are back after what feels like a very long time. In my hiatus, we have had 2 open tournaments, 2 super qualifier tournaments, and now we have our 10 teams that will be competing in the ANZ HCS super tournament for $50,000 US, also known as 70,000 Australian dollars, also known as the biggest prize pool in Australian Halo history. What we have for you today is the ANZ HCS Power Tier List, sponsored by no one except myself, done for fun, pleasure, entertainment value. I hope you get something out of it. I'm going to go over who I think is the most likely to win, and everyone from 1st through to 10th, putting them in tiers S, A, B, C, and D. I mean, no ill intent to anyone. I think everyone here is a great player. That's why they've made themselves qualify in obviously proving themselves as one of the top 10 teams in the region right now. I think the process they've gone through has been a good process for the most part to determine who the top 10 teams are. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So, first and foremost, the obvious pick in first place, I'm taking the Chiefs. Chiefs Esport Club. That team consisting of Barcode, Madsy, Pips, and Slays. I think they're too strong. I think no one's going to come close to them. I think they only lose 1 map at most for this entire tournament. And they're the obvious pick to win. They've won every single tournament, regardless of their roster throughout the entirety of Halo Infinite. They have a 43 win to 4 loss map count over the whole Pro Series that took part January, February. And I think that they're just 4 of the top 6 best players in the region. Chiefs, number 1 seed, easy peasy, $20,000 US in your pocket, 5,000 each. Congratulations, boys. I think you can sign it off now. Don't make me eat my words. Second place team, and the first A tier team that I'm saying is Divine Mind. Now, Divine Mind have made it to every single grand finals except for one, and that one grand final they didn't make it to, and this is talking about the Pro League, is as a result of disqualification because Berserk's internet was messing up, and that's obviously nothing that they could have done about it. So they have a winning record against every single team in the Pro League. So when it matters, these boys obviously managed to pull it out and win. Their scrim results are also looking good against most teams. They're winning handedly against most teams below them. Still getting whooped by Chiefs, unfortunately, and I'm sure that that's pissing them off at this time. And I think that they're just the easy second bet at this point. They've proven it over time, and I think also that they're the most practiced team, or second most practiced team heading into this event. They've been scrimming 5 or 6 times a week. Berserk's been streaming it, and we've also seen it in the Halo Data Hive scrims. And that's been going on for the last 2 or 3 weeks since they qualified. So I think Divine Mind, not only your most deserving second place team, but also your most likely second place team based on current scrim results. The second A tier team, and who I believe is most likely to come out third in this tournament, is Demons. This might come as a surprise to some. Demons has not really been a commonplace name in these Pro League tournaments. Now you have a core 3 in Sways, Plasma, and Lollies. And they've been looking for someone over the last couple of weeks that they think will be on the same level as them individually, and they've decided to pick up Jordan AU as their 4th. These guys haven't competed in any pro leagues together. They fell short in the first week of qualification for this super. They fell short in that regard, and that was personally surprising to me. But in the second week, they did their job and they managed to qualify through the winners bracket. So I think these guys are 4 very talented individuals, especially Sways, Lollies, and Plasma. I think these guys are all from different games, and they're coming in and they're learning Halo, and I think that their skill ceiling hasn't been reached, and I think time is only their friend in that regard. These guys are, I think, taking as many maps off of Chiefs and scrims as Divine Mind are right now. They're still generally losing to Divine Mind, but the scrims are quite competitive and quite close. So I think if these boys clutch up, they have a potential to come second. They have potential. I would say it's unlikely. I give them less than a 30% chance of sneaking that second, but the potential is there. And you definitely want to be keeping an eye on these boys heading into the weekend. So they are my second A tier team and my third place team for the weekend. I want to do 4 through 6 kind of all as once. Fourth place, I have BBR. Fifth place, I have Dire Wolves, and sixth place, I have Immunity. All of these I'm putting in the B tier, and it was really difficult to place these teams. I definitely put them below the A tier for a reason. I don't think that they're that competitive against Divine Mind or Demons. I just think that they just don't have what it takes just yet to be considered in that same tier. Divine Mind and Demons are generally beating them a decent amount in scrims, but by the same token, I consider them to be a level above the rest. And I think that any of these teams could beat any of the other teams, and that's why I'm going over them all together. I'm giving BBR the edge as fourth because of the amount of practice that BBR have been putting in. Dire Wolves and Immunity unfortunately haven't had that same opportunity to practice. Dire Wolves being a New Zealand based team, they're obviously 2 or 3 hours ahead of us Aussies, and they just can't realistically be expected to put in full scrims against teams and then go to work the next day having gone to bed at 2 o'clock their time. So can't really blame them for that. And Benno, I believe, is moving house, so they haven't really scrimmed in the last week or so. So I think Dire Wolves and Immunity are both relatively unpracticed compared to BBR and potentially the rest of the competition. I think where Dire Wolves and Immunity gain an edge above the rest of the competition is they have stuck to the same 4 for generally the entire lifespan of Halo Infinite, whereas BBR have changed a little bit here and there. And they should at this point be benefiting from chemistry and cohesion and map understanding and awareness as a team. I'm putting Dire Wolves above Immunity purely based on recency bias, and that's because Dire Wolves beat Immunity 3-2 to qualify in the first week, and that's the last thing that we saw from Immunity other than them winning their match to qualify as well. So yeah, that's pretty much my logic for those. I think BBR in 4th, Dire Wolves in 5th, Immunity in 6th, but don't be surprised if you see one of these teams beating another one of these teams, or potentially each of them beating each other, and it could really end up being a bit of a shit fight for who comes 4th. And I think these matches will be the most competitive and the ones that you're going to be watching if they come up throughout the weekend. My 7th place team I'm putting as Deathruptor fans. So this is another team that's gone through a lot of team changes. The current lineup is Junior, Ryu, Strafe Noble, and Apollo. I think, again, individually, all have high skill ceilings and potential. I think because of their newness, they haven't had the time to learn the game together that some of the A, B, and S tier teams have had, and that's why I'm putting them on that C tier. That said, I do see this as a team with some upset potential. I think Junior, obviously, a very talented player through past Halos. I think Apollo is a bit underrated, and Ryu and Strafe Noble are also new to this game, and I present the same argument for them as I do for the boys on Demons, that time is only their friend in learning how Halo works and kind of the aspect of competitive Halo that they probably haven't been exposed to before. So when I say upset potential, I'm thinking these guys have less than a 5% chance of beating one of the S or A tier teams. However, I'm putting them at about a 40% chance of upsetting one of the B tier teams, that being BBR, Dire Wolves, or Immunity. So yeah, I think it's going to come down to a clutch factor, but I definitely think these guys have a bit of upset potential, and you want to keep an eye out on them. They're going to have some interesting games. And going into 8th place, or your second C tier team, I'm saying 1620 Kings. This is another relatively new team of Rice, Techerai, Just Tough, and Samuel the 17th. They qualified in the last opportunity to qualify. They qualified through the lower bracket of the Super Qualifier 2. I'm placing them below Deathruptor fans because they actually lost 3-2 to Deathruptor fans in that qualifier. Now, we don't have much to go off, but this team did actually manage to beat Divine Mind in one of the open tournaments that was held immediately after the pro season ended. They beat them 2-1. This is in a best of 3 series, and that was a bit of a controversy. So I think these boys also have a bit of upset potential. These are, I think, good individuals as well. And time, again, is going to be their friend, and we have to see what these guys can do. So I think if they clutch up, they'd have some potential to upset some of the B tier teams. Not much more to say on these boys, just let's see how they go. I've got them in 8th, but they might upset. Let's see. In 9th place, your second last team, I have Lolly Degeneres. I've got these guys in 9th because they qualified again in the lower bracket, which means their back is up against the wall, and they kind of need a lucky bracket for them to take 7th/8th place. They qualified by beating High Profile 2-1 in winners round 1, beating Next 3-2 in winners round 2, losing to Demons 3-0, and then beating Nebula 3-2 in their losers run to qualify in the lower bracket. But it by no means was a strong qualification. As you can see, they could have easily lost any of these other series that they had. I think that they managed to clutch up in the event to manage to snag a spot. But nonetheless, they managed to make it here, and I'm putting them in 9th place. I'm not expecting them to be able to beat any of the teams above them, but if they do, I think it's going to come off of the back of some really strong individual performances, and we're just going to have to wait and see. The 10th place team I am saying is Reunited, and that is because this team we have no previous understanding of where they stand relative to any other teams. They haven't competed in any tournaments together, and they've barely scrimmed. The team consists of Lunchy, Square, Wrath City, and Sierra Leo, and they auto-qualified based off of their attendance at Raleigh, which is why it was a bit controversial. Yeah, I'm not going to go too far into any of that. I just don't have high hopes for this team. The only scrim result I have for them is against Lolly Degeneres, where they lost 5-1, and personally I'm not expecting these boys to put up much of a fight against any team, and I'm expecting them to lose every series that they play in, that being pool play and then inevitably their bracket play as well. That's my power ratings. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree? Who do you think is gonna be the guys that play upset? Do you think I'm being a bit harsh on Reunited? Let me know what you think below, and hopefully we all enjoy this weekend's tournament, and there's some quality games for us to watch. Good luck to all involved, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Now every word that's out of my mouth, wake up, it's me. You're gonna follow your dreams, or are you just gonna be another cog in the sea? You feel the hope in this beat, yeah, the hope that you need to proceed and be exactly what you wanted to be.